Messes happen with kids, with adults too. They're part of life. It's how you deal with the mess that makes the difference. Hey, welcome to Mornings with Bishop Robert. Thanks for joining me. This is the top spot on the internet for beverages with a bishop. My goal is to introduce people to the Jesus they never knew, then help them get to know him and his word personally and better. So if our time together today speaks to your heart, let me invite you to like, subscribe, and also share with a friend. You know, one of the most famous painters of the Victorian era was named Sir Edward Landseer. A child prodigy, he had the first showing of his work at the Royal Academy at the ripe old age of 13. How good was he? Well, he gave private drawing lessons to the Queen. Known for his paintings highlighting nature, his depictions of lions are my favorites of his works. If you ever visited Trafalgar Square in London, you've seen Landseer's lions, the four majestic bronze statues surrounding Lord Admiral Nelson's column in the official center of London. But did you know Landseer once visited some friends at an old Scottish mansion? An accident had left a large stain on the wall in one of the sitting rooms. While the family was away for the day, the master drew an incredible image of a woodland scene with a waterfall, incorporating the stain in a way that highlighted it as a focal point. While the family returned to find that the guests they'd welcomed into their home had made something beautiful and valuable out of an ugly mess. And that brings us to our verse for the day. God says, "My grace is all you need." Whether you're a genius or a dunce, stunningly beautiful or strikingly ugly, you and I face the same problem. Doesn't matter if you grew up on the Maasai Plains of Kenya or the fruited plains of Kansas. Same problem. You and I, we have lives that are stained with sin. Like a massive stain on the wall. There it sits. Sin. Yuck. Now, most of the walls of your home may not be visible from the outside. But you and I don't live outside our lives. We live inside them. And we see the massive stains that others may miss. And don't be fooled, by the way. More of your sin is visible from the outside than you'd care to believe. We think we need to deal with the things in our life on our own. Pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, so to speak. Well, that approach may work with some things, but it never works with sin. You see, we need God's grace. Grace. I like to describe it with this acronym. GRACE. God's riches at Christ's expense. Grace is the solution to our problem. In fact, it's the only solution to our sin problem. But it's also so much more. Grace takes the mess that we've made in our lives and it transforms it into something beautiful. God works all things together for good to those who love him and are called according to his purposes. He doesn't need the stain to work good in our lives. He who spoke the entire universe into existence doesn't require our mess-ups to create anything. He simply chooses to recreate them. The Bible says it's going to take him about as much effort as changing out of a bathrobe. No, he doesn't need our screw-ups. But like Landseer's mural, what's amazing about God is that he takes what was ugly and useless and he converts it into something that he can use beautifully. Well, the process is sometimes difficult, even painful. But God is the God of all grace. All grace. And his grace is all you need. His grace enters our life and cleanses us from sin when we invite Christ into our lives. His grace is our salvation. And it's his grace that keeps strengthening us. Christ giving us grace upon grace. It's his grace that keeps encouraging us. Christ calls us to his glory. It's his grace that keeps working in us because Christ never abandons us. It's his grace that places his gifts in us. Christ equipping us to serve him. It's his grace that's displayed before the world. Christ's masterpiece. Yeah, his grace is all you need. John the Apostle talks about grace and truth coming through Christ, and that Jesus gives us grace upon grace. Now, the Greek phraseology there is kind of tough to translate into English, but it means to say that when the first grace is used up and empty, he gives a new grace that's fresh and strong, over and over. At least that's the Bishop Robert version. When you begin to understand grace, you'll be less stressful and more fruitful. God will use his grace to restore you, to confirm you, to strengthen you and establish you. He's the God who gives grace upon grace upon grace. And when he says, my grace is all you need, he means it. All means all. Really. So invite the Master into your life. Of course, you'll see the large, ugly stains. You tried to cover them up, but that solution was a temporary one at best. But welcoming him into your life and inviting him to work in his work in you, that's all you need. His masterful and transformative work will be his initial gift to you. Ashes into beauty. But then he'll continue to pour more grace into you, more gifts that will allow you to reflect his glory. And then he'll strengthen you as you use these gifts, serving him, being a good steward of the grace of God. You know, one of the names for God is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Landseer's lions may be massive and stunningly beautiful, but the lions God's creating, strong, powerful, majestic, gifted, they're more so because they're alive. Hey, I'll close today with the words of the Apostle Paul. Now I entrust you to God and the message of his grace, because that message is able to build you up and give you what belongs to you as God's people. Friends, that's all the time we've got today. But can I ask you to help me introduce people to the Jesus they never knew and help them get to know him and his word personally and better? It's easy to do. First, just like this video because it'll help more people see it. Then click follow or subscribe and hit that notification bell so we can get together every day. Finally, just share this video with a friend, would you? Because as you do, it makes you part of the team, touching hearts all over the world with the love of Jesus. Thanks for helping.